This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLesio and Kenny Bergamy.
Well, hi there. Hope your Thanksgiving celebration went as planned. We're celebrating as well because look who is back. Yes, after a week off, Kenny B in the house, kicking things off with a little thing we call the show lineup.
Yes, sir. Good to be back. Straight ahead on the program. This year's pecan harvest is looking really good. Still, there's an issue that has producers a bit concerned. Also on the show, at first glance, this may look like your typical arcade game, but wait until you hear what one 4-H'er used to make it. Plus, if you've run out of ideas for your holiday menus, don't sweat it. Marcia and Ray are pulling out the old crock pot and whipping up a stew using nothing but Georgia-grown ingredients. Meals from the field and more start right now on the Farm Monitor.
Of course, Georgia leads the nation in pecan production, but that title doesn't come without challenges, especially the past couple of years following Hurricane Michael. However, this year's crop is proving to be a good one, which would be good news for growers if there was a promising market. Our John Holcomb explains.
Just over 2 years ago, this was the sight many pecan growers in Georgia woke up to thanks to Hurricane Michael, a storm that devastated growers' 2018 crop. That, however, is not the case for growers this year, as producers are busy harvesting what is turning out to be a big crop, something that was somewhat expected now that we're 2 years post-Hurricane Michael.
When you have a large weather event like that come through, it obviously hurts the crop for that year, but the destruction that it put over the state, we lost a lot of fruiting branches, and so we didn't have a big crop last year. Places that was hit heavy with a storm, we had a decent crop. So what happens is the trees just spend a year growing back, basically fruit and branches, and then the year following that, which is the second year after, you tend to have a big crop. This has been observed for years where there's been large storm events like this.
Of course, the great crop was only possible with great growing conditions throughout the year. According to Sawyer, we had just that this season and didn't have a lot of disease pressure.
We actually had a great year in terms of growing pecans. We had a lot less disease pressure, and that is the #1 pest that we are having to protect against is scab. And so when you have a relatively dry spring, that gets us started great, and growers can cut back on fungicides, and pollination was probably as good this year as it's been.
We've had such great weather this year, the crop ended up being ahead of schedule.
Because of the good growing season, our crop was between 10 days and 2 weeks early this whole year. Where I'm standing in middle southeast Georgia, we were easily 10 days early right here. So what that means, that was good for growers in that we didn't have to go through September, where it tends to get really dry, to have to continue irrigating and filling out that crop. Remember, September of 2019, we were almost completely dry and 100 degrees temperature for almost a whole month, and we lost a lot of our crop because of that. And so this year we didn't have that happen. We actually had pretty good rains through August.
However, there is some bad news, and that is the fact that the price for pecans right now is low thanks to external factors like trade and international competition.
The trade wars that we've been in the last few years and the tariffs have kind of hurt our price, and as well as the competition that we have in pecans growing from other people across the world. One right below us, Mexico, is now producing more pecans than we are here in the United States. And so that's a challenge that we're having to work through.
Not to mention the fact that China hasn't been buying pecans this year.
Their new year is later this year. It'll be about like in February for us. So they could go a whole nother month just about before they start buying pecans to get ready for that. Where last year it was earlier, and that helps set the price as well.
Reporting in Montgomery County for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
There's an old saying that one man's trash is another man's treasure. It's an adage that was put to the test recently by more than 60 4-H students who participated in the Multi-State Upcycle Challenge. Damon Jones takes a look at a couple of the winning entries and what the inspiration was behind them.
While the goal of the Upcycle Challenge is simple enough, take items that are normally thrown away and transform them into something functional, the execution is a bit more demanding. That makes it all the more impressive that 2 of the winners this year came from the same county.
I just kind of forward the information on to them. We got information from Burton 4-H Center about this upcycling contest that they were having, and they wanted to, instead of recycle, they wanted to upcycle. They wanted you to make something that someone could use and be useful. And so they had several different divisions, and our 2 winners were from the senior division and the junior division.
Those are 10th grader Liam J., who built a fully functional arcade machine from recycled goods, and 8th grader Nadini Patel, who constructed pet beds, with more than 80 of those being donated to the Humane Society.
I built an arcade cabinet using a Atari 2600 and an old television that I had found in a thrift store. Well, most of it was done using my screwdriver. It's all the screws in this have been used for something else before and were salvaged. And I used caulk to get all the seams sealed. That was also left over from a construction project.
I built pet beds out of t-shirts that people were going to throw away. It's stuffing that was repurposed from teddy bears and other things that were going to be thrown out. After careful research, I created a template and used that template to cut the fabric out. I sewed it together and stuffed it.
This type of competition is important on a number of different levels as it allows students to think outside the box.
We have so many activities and things today that kids don't have a chance to think. And it really helps their thinking skills to do something like this. And it really helps them to think about the environment when it comes to upcycling.
That's the main goal for this project, emphasizing just how much of a priority sustainability is to the agricultural industry.
Farmers are the ultimate conservationists, and they've always, I grew up on a farm, and we always thought about sustainability and conservation, and it just takes it to another level when these kids are able to upcycle and think about the environment and be conscious that they need to do these things.
And more than that, it's fun for the students who, despite all the hard work, feel a real sense of accomplishment once the project is finished.
I thought it was a blast. This was, if something comes that you find really enjoyable and that you want to do, then go do it. It will, the more you want to and the more love you put into it, the better it'll turn out and the more successful it'll be.
Reporting from Ben Hill County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
After the break, we're throwing everything but the kitchen sink into the crock pot and cooking up some stew that will have your holiday guests begging for more. Meals from the field when the Farm Monitor continues.
Philip Edwards has served as a University of Georgia Cooperative Extension, Agriculture, and Natural Resources agent for more than 34 years. He began his extension career in 1986 with brief work in Screven and Terrell counties before moving to Irwin County in 1988, where he is the County Extension Coordinator. Edwards has led critical efforts and collaborations at the grassroots level, focusing on multi-year efforts to control tomato spotted wilt virus in tobacco and peanut, applied research on peanut maturity, on-farm cotton and peanut variety trials, peanut fungicide comparisons, and insecticide efficacy research on stink bugs in cotton, among many other projects. He has conducted 139 applied research trials, resulting in more than 50 state or national presentations and posters. His efforts are not limited to row crop agriculture, but include numerous focus areas including pecans, water conservation and quality, agricultural awareness, 4-H project work, developing effective communication, community efforts, and educating and mentoring both youth and adults.
home for the holidays, not just a saying, especially this year because of the pandemic and everything. A lot of people will be staying home for the holidays. So that is our theme this month, home for the holidays, meals from the field. Joining me, as always, my good friend, Marcia Crowley. And for once, we don't have a mock kitchen set up at the Department of Agriculture. This is a real kitchen, and it's Marcia's kitchen. We, of course, have been here.
Messy and all.
Yes.
This is it.
Marcia didn't have to do anything today. She just got up, threw on some makeup, prettied herself up, and here we're in her kitchen.
Yeah, right.
But no, thank you again, as always, Marcia, for having us in your home.
Absolutely.
And again, yes, like I said, home for the holidays, perfect theme. Because of the pandemic, you know, cases are on the rise. A lot of people worried about traveling during the holiday season. So this would be a good time just to stay home, possibly, and make some recipes.
Yep, and I know we're staying home. Well, this is a beef stew, somewhat classic beef stew with a twist. But if you've got guests coming in maybe, or you want a hearty meal before you start cooking the Thanksgiving meal, this is like a do it and put it in the crock pot.
And you can't go wrong with beef stew.
No, all right, so I have browned 3 pounds of stew meat, or you can buy just a regular steak and cut it up yourself. I'm going to deglaze the pan. That means all the little bits that come off the beef when you brown it, you put those in a pan. And this is a dark beer. If you don't want to do beer, you could use applesauce, you could use water. You don't have to use beer, you could use red wine. All right, so we've deglazed that pan. And we're going to go ahead and pour it in the crock of your crock pot.
All right.
Let's see if I can get that in there without spilling it. I did. Okay, let's just move this out of the way.
It's kind of a good waste of beer, Marcia.
I know, well, not really.
Not
it
really,
tastes
because
really
it doesn't
good.
enhance the flavor.
All right, this is 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. You're going to stir that into the hot or warm beer and deglazing of the pan.
And for anybody out there who maybe doesn't like to use alcohol or use beer in their cooking, does the
it cooks
heat,
out.
It does cook out the alcohol. Okay,
but
so
you will definitely, with this dark beer, you can taste. You can taste it. So if you don't like that, like I said, use water, more beef broth. All right, we're going to add the 3 pounds of meat. Like I said, I've browned this, seasoned it, salt and pepper to taste. Whatever you want to put in there. Let's move that out of the way here.
And I should notice that I should make a clarification. Yes, of course, I am an Indianapolis Colts fan, but this is the only mask I could find today because I watched the other ones.
Oh, no, gosh.
So I'm kind of publicizing the Colts this month.
That's all right.
Go Colts.
Still got to be better than the Falcons. All right, we're going to add to that like 6 carrots cut, potatoes, and an onion quartered. Add that into the crock.
And you also brought up a good point that I didn't know. You've got some in-laws now that are in the beef business and cattle industry as well,
I do.
too.
My son's father-in-law.
Okay.
And this is 14 ounces of beef broth. You're going to add some dried rosemary and a couple of bay leaves, which brings out the flavor and stuff. And there you have it. All you do is put that on the crock pot, cook it on low for about 8 hours or high for 4 to 6.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn away just a minute and put it over here. So
it's your kitchen. You can do whatever you want.
I can do whatever I want, right? Okay, that's the beef stew. These biscuits right here are to die for. Cheddar Bay biscuits, they are to die for, let me tell you.
And we'll just say a certain famous seafood restaurant, they're known for these, but you can make them at home yourself,
Exactly. All right, this is 2.5 cups of a baking biscuit mix, okay? And I've got in there 4 tablespoons of butter that I've already cut in. You can use a pastry cutter or whatever. You need cold butter. You're going to add 3/4 of a cup of milk, a cup of sharp cheddar cheese or regular cheddar. I just like sharp. You're going to mix this up. It's got a little garlic powder in there. And you're going to drop these by spoonfuls onto a baking sheet. And you can make them any size you want, but I like big biscuits.
Sure.
We're going to act like that's mixed up really good. It's not too bad. I know we've got a time limit here. And I like to line my cookie sheets with parchment paper It keeps them from burning a little bit.
Keeps your pans clean too?
Keep the pan clean. And you're just going to dip this tablespoonfuls onto your baking sheet, about like that.
That's it? That size?
That's it.
Because they'll expand?
They'll expand,
okay,
yeah. You can make them really any size you want, but like I said, I like...
Because you know me, I'd make baseball size ones.
Well,
so.
they probably need to be. I think the rule of thumb is to use a ice cream scoop, but that's really big.
That's pretty big.
Yeah. And you bake these at 400 for 12 minutes, 12 to 14, but you need to watch it because of the butter and the cheese. It's gonna brown quickly.
Okay.
And those are delicious.
Now time for the dessert.
Now the dessert. I think we can leave this here.
Yeah, we can leave this here. I'll put this over here for
Yeah,
you.
just put it over there. And this is just a quick, easy, light dessert. You know, with beef stew, you don't really need a lot. And this is any kind of colorful cup that you have. You're going to layer, I'm going to use my hands, they're clean. A little bit of pound cake, you can make it homemade or store-bought it, which is what this is. A little bit of whipped topping. And some blueberries that I have put brown sugar on just to add a little sweetness. And you just layer these. You can make these ahead and keep them in the fridge.
Okay.
And they're fun to eat. And just keep layering until they're done. And it's really good. It's a light, fun dessert. Actually, kids could make this.
Sure, and that beef stew can be a little heavy at times. So the dessert is not so heavy, which is really good.
Which is really good.
All right.
So, and there you have it.
There you have it. All very quick, easy recipes. And as always, folks, as we tell you every single month, you can make these yourself. Very simple. We have had some people call in saying, or write in and saying, hey, where's the recipes? If you go to our website, farm-monitor.com, go up to the very top, you'll see the recipe section at the top of our page. Click on that. All the recipes that we've done over the years are there. Very, very simple to make. I do them all the time, believe it or not.
I refer back to that too if I'm looking for a recipe and don't know if we've done it or not. They're all just very well categorized, and I mean, it's easy to use.
Very, very easy to navigate. So, Marcia, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy early holidays to you. Well, I guess we're officially in the holiday season now because Thanksgiving has passed. So now we're looking ahead to Christmas. And we will be doing a little Christmas special, some recipes for that as well. So, again, thank you. Happy holidays to you. Happy holidays to everybody. Go Colts. Gotta say go Colts. And of course, we will see you next month.
Size and color aren't the only ways to differentiate between a red fox and a gray fox. Get this, one of them can actually live in a tree. That is next when the Farm Monitor continues.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hey, What Do You Know? My name is Kathy Church. I'm a Wildlife Interpretive Specialist with the Wildlife Resources Division, and today's topic is the gray fox. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, why talk about the gray fox and not the red fox? I mean, he's the more iconic fox, he's the one that we see more often, but quite simply, he's not native to Georgia. The gray fox is native. And when we say native, what we mean is that animal originally comes from that area. Non-native animals are ones that have moved in from somewhere else, like the red fox, who's actually native to the boreal forests of areas like Canada and Alaska, where it's pretty much frozen for 6 months out of the year. The trees don't grow quite as tall, and the canopy is much more open. The gray fox, on the other hand, he's actually native to the deciduous forest like we have here in northeast Georgia, where there are 4 definite seasons, the trees grow way taller, and the canopy is much more crowded. Now, a crowded canopy may not be easy to move through, but with this fabulous camouflage, it's perfect for hiding and staying safe. So I'm sure you're wondering, how did this guy get from the cold north down to the warm south? Very simply, deforestation. By taking trees out of the deciduous forest for things like farms and buildings and houses and all that kind of stuff, we open it up and make it more like the boreal forest, the red fox's native home, so he could just move right in. But what if you see a fox? How do you actually tell the difference between the fox or tell which fox you actually saw? Well, Color's a good idea, right? Red fox is mostly red, gray fox is mostly gray. That's why his scientific name actually means ashen silver. But if you look, the gray fox can have red on his ears and his neck and his legs, so sometimes it can be kind of confusing. There are other things you can look for, like a red fox is always going to be wearing black stockings on all four legs. The gray fox doesn't have that. If you can look really close, the pupils of a red fox are like a cat's. They're vertical, kind of slit-like pupils. But for the gray fox, their pupils are more oval, not quite like a cat's. Even their skeletons are different. If you ever find the skull of a fox, you can tell which one is which by the temporal lines or the ridges on the top of his head. The ridges on the top of a red fox's head make a V. The ridges on the top of the gray fox's head make a U. This actually helps to keep their scientific names separate, because if you find the skull of a red fox with a V, his scientific name is Vulpes vulpes. If you find the skull of a gray fox with a U, his scientific name is Urocyon cinerio argentis. That's a mouthful. But most of the time when you see a fox, all you get to see is just a glimpse as that animal runs right off into the woods. Still not a problem. Just look at his tail, because a red fox's tail is always going to have a white little tip, and the gray fox's tail is always going to have a black little tip. No problem. But now, what makes this guy so cool? Well, this solitary monogamous little omnivore is one of only 3 species of dogs in the whole wide world that can climb a tree. Along with the raccoon dog and the New Guinea singing dog, these guys can climb vertically straight up for food or shelter or whatever they may need. And when I say straight up, I mean straight up. These guys can climb 60 feet straight up a tree, no problem. And they can do it because they've got flexible paws, and their semi-retractable curved little claws can just dig in and carry them wherever they need to go. They are even known to den or build their homes 30 feet up. So if you want to see a red fox, look down on the ground. But if you want to see a gray fox, look up. This adaptation of climbing is actually so successful that they are great at hiding and finding food, and they even sometimes find extra food. So when they find extra food, they will bury it, mark the spot where they buried it so that they can come back and find it later. I'm sure you're wondering, how do they mark the spot? Well, they urinate on it. Now, it's gross, but it works. So, hey, what do you know? Gray fox is actually Georgia's native fox. He is an expert at climbing trees, which is where he gets the nickname tree fox, and he pees on his food so he can find it later. Who knew? Hey, thanks for joining me today. I hope you learned something that you didn't know about our gray fox, and keep an eye out for more. Hey, what do you know?
And hey, what do you know? If you're a school or organization and would like Kathy to come and speak to your group about Georgia wildlife, go and shoot her an email at the address you see on the screen there. That is kathy.church@dnr.ga.gov. That's a mouthful. As always, huge thanks to Georgia Wildlife for allowing us to share these features with you. As always, great job by Kathy as well.
And before we send you on your way, a friendly reminder that for all the latest ag news regarding food, recipes, and what's happening on Georgia farms, be sure you check out all of our social media platforms. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and with us here on the show.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time right here on the Farm Monitor.
As always, have a great week.